This program is brought to you by Link TV for educational and non-commercial use only. Mosaic, a daily news program from Link TV, presents a selection of news reports from independent and state-controlled broadcasters from throughout the Middle East.
According
to Lebanese military sources, 2 military cargo planes loaded with aid to the Lebanese army arrived in Beirut National Airport. Agence France Presse quoted Western diplomats saying that these planes are American and that their total number will be 8. However, the Lebanese defense minister said that one should not link this military aid to what is happening at Nahar al-Bared refugee camp. He said that the aid was sent as a result of past agreements.
American military planes landed in Beirut's international airport via an urgent air bridge in order to transport American military aid to the Lebanese army. According to American military sources, this aid is in response to an urgent appeal made by the Lebanese Prime Minister Fouad Siniora to support the Lebanese army in the battles against Fatah al-Islam in Nahr al-Bared refugee camp. The aid was rushed via non-commercial American planes. However, the Lebanese defense minister said that one should not link between this and what is happening in Nahr al-Bared refugee camp. He said that the aid was sent as a result of past agreements. According to Lebanese sources, the urgent American aid was accompanied by Arab aid that was transported by planes from the United Arab Emirates and Jordan. The arrival of the aid to the Lebanese army, which is known for its weak military capabilities, will enable it to launch a military operation. Political observers believe that the possibility of carrying out such a military operation is increasing day by day. Moreover, the Lebanese government said that it is determined to eradicate the phenomena of Fatah al-Islam. So far, there are no consensus among the Palestinian factions on fighting Fatah al-Islam using their own forces.
We hope that in the coming hours and days we can reach a united position and serious understanding that we need to carry out concrete operations.
In the absence of a tangible solution to this crisis, the Lebanese government's supporters link between what is happening in Nahr al-Bared and the issue of the International Tribunal. They say that it will eventually happen despite all obstacles. The opposition, however, says that trapping the Lebanese army in confrontations in the north is an attempt to engage it in unnecessary wars and weaken its ability to fulfill its internal duties. Only a few days after threatening to assassinate him, along with the head of Hamas's political office, Khalid Mish'al, Israeli missiles targeted the security square surrounding the home of the Palestinian Prime Minister Ismail Haniyeh in Gaza last night. This sends a message of hostility and terrorism that needs little interpretation. Israel also struck the executive force headquarters and civic and economic structures. Zuhair Saqallah reports from Gaza.
Unsatisfied with the destruction and killing left behind by their aircraft missiles, the occupation forces used missiles to send a direct message to the head of the Palestinian Pyramid of Power, Ismail Haniyeh, whom Israel has often threatened to terminate. This rude terrorist message arrived in the room of a companion near Haniyeh's home.
Israel is a crazy and uncontrollable country that wanted to tell the Prime Minister that no Palestinian official is safe. A country that arrests the representative and the head of the Legislative Council, Dr. Aziz Duwaik, will not be stopped from going after the head of the government as well.
The night time was spent in waiting and anticipating the targets of the occupation missiles, which struck whenever they wanted without mercy. The executive force headquarters is a permanent target because it is linked to the Hamas movement. As for the money changers' shops, those were once again targeted.
The Israeli targets are malignant, additionally aimed at derailing the possibility of Palestinians reaching a truce with Israel because it does not want a truce. Such a truce would embarrass it and prevent it from carrying out the offensive that it needs.
Even if the Israeli raid were to reach the Prime Minister Ismail Haniyeh himself, it will not deter the resistance. Long has Israel committed massacres, which have only made the resistance more violent and more determined. Nonetheless, these messages need to be read closely, and its underlying meaning needs to be understood. Zuhair Sakala, Dubai TV, Gaza.
The Palestinian leadership denounced the Israeli raids on Gaza and described them as crimes against humanity, asking the international community to take responsibility and stop this aggression.
This is what the residents of Gaza woke up to. Security locations bombed to ruins and businesses targeted, especially money-changing offices that Israel accuses of channeling funds to Hamas.
These are imaginary justifications that Israel is spreading. There is absolutely no correlation between our profession and these false claims.
Gaza's night was lit by Israeli aircraft missiles that targeted mainly security bases from the north to the south. Many people were wounded, mostly women and children.
When people see the aircrafts in the air, they either evacuate their houses or they shut down their windows to avoid being hit. What else can they do?
As the saying goes, for every action there is a reaction. The resistance reassured its stance against the occupation and held it responsible for the escalating situation for the purpose of subduing the Palestinians in the upcoming political negotiations. They also stressed going into peace talks under their own terms.
When it comes to peace talks, the ball is once again in Israel's court. If what Israel really wants is for things to calm down, then it first has to stop its aggression, lift the sanctions, and prepare for comprehensive harmony that embraces all Palestinians, both in the West Bank and Gaza. It is unacceptable for us to take Gaza out of the equation. It will be in the interest of all Palestinians that we insist on these demands.
Israel's efforts to regain its dignity amongst its people seem to be the main issue standing in the way of Palestinian President's efforts to reach peace in the region in the near future. Hanan al-Masri, Al-Arabiya, from in front of one of the destroyed security headquarters, Al-Sheikh Radwan, Gaza.
The Director General of the International Atomic Energy Agency, Mohammed al-Baradei, said that the use of aggressive language will not resolve the Iranian nuclear file. Speaking at a news conference on nuclear non-proliferation in Luxembourg, al-Baradei urged Washington and other international parties to adopt dialogue as means to addressing Iran's economic and security concerns.
After his report on Iran's nuclear file, the Director General of the International Atomic Energy Agency, Mohammed al-Baradei, insisted on the importance of a dialogue with Tehran towards reaching a solution to its nuclear file. During a news conference on nuclear non-proliferation in Luxembourg, al-Baradei criticized the aggressive rhetoric adopted by some countries in addressing Iran.
One way to reach a comprehensive solution to the Iranian nuclear file is to sit together around the negotiations tables rather than using aggressive language to see if we can find a solution through dialogue.
Al-Baradei said that his priorities are to prevent Iran from enriching uranium on an industrial level and to pave the way for negotiations and compromise. Al-Baradei's report said that it cannot be determined if the nature of Iran's nuclear program is in fact peaceful because of Iran's lack of cooperation. However, he also said that the agency does not have sufficient evidence to prove otherwise.
There are several steps that need to be taken if a certain country wants to create nuclear weapons. In the agency, we look at nuclear material, and until now, we have not found anything that suggests that Iran is trying to build weapons.
Al-Baradei also said that Iran would need between 3 to 8 years to produce nuclear weapons if it chooses to, even though Tehran has confirmed more than once that its nuclear ambitions are peaceful. In a noteworthy statement, Al-Baradei said that an increasing number of countries are turning towards nuclear power as an alternative energy source because of environmental changes and the depletion of other energy sources. Al-Baradei stressed on using diplomatic solutions in dealing with the Iranian nuclear file, a position shared by both Russia and China. However, it does not seem that these calls have reached the ears of certain major world powers, who started talking about imposing new sanctions on Iran within one day of Baradei's report.
The United States came under attack by Amnesty International in its annual report, which described Washington's policies as destructive because it uses the world as a theater for war under the pretext of combating terrorism. The organization said that the war on Iraq and the environment of fear which the Bush administration spread throughout the world has increased divisions.
Amnesty International harshly criticized the United States, accusing it of violating human rights. Based in London, Amnesty International's report accused the U.S. of doublespeak when addressing human rights by portraying itself as a hero defending these rights and international laws. The report confirmed that Washington, through its policies, violates the simplest of international laws.
What we found
What we discovered is that some governments use the politics of fear in order to further justify human rights violations that they are committing. These practices are being done specifically by the United States. The U.S. is considered the most dangerous violator of human rights.
The organization's report indicates that the methods used by the United States and its allies, especially in Iraq, represent a destructive model for other states. This allows these countries throughout the world to take advantage of the war on terror and use it as a justification to violate human rights and undermine the rule of law throughout the world. The Secretary General of the organization, Irene Khan, accused U.S. President George Bush of using the fear of terror as a pretext to strengthen executive powers and escape congressional or judicial monitoring. She said one of the biggest blows to human rights has been the attempt of Western democratic states to roll back some fundamental principles of human rights, like the prohibition of torture. She noted that when a country like the United States undermines or ignores human rights, it sends a strong message to others.
Parliament members and some officials differed on the Interior Ministry's decision demanding members in the former regime's intelligence agency to register their names with the Interior Ministry within a limited time. More details provided by Ali Ahmad.
The Interior Ministry called on members of the former regime's intelligence agency to register their names with the ministry and the police within 90 days for those residing outside Iraq and within 60 days for those residing within the country. Those who supported the decision justify it by evoking the security card due to the deteriorating security situation in the country. Some officials in the Interior Ministry, however, expressed some reservations. They say that the decision is in violation of the Iraqi constitution.
Criminal groups are assassinating members of the former intelligence agency. We are a government, and we have legal institutions. Even the worst criminals who get arrested are sent to court. The courts are the only authority that can punish people. There is nobody within the Interior Ministry that can punish anyone.
Parliament members differed on the Interior Ministry's decision. Some believe that it is in violation of the Iraqi law and human rights, while others said that it was a necessary step.
We believe that the Interior Ministry's decision is wrong and that it must be reversed. This is an unjust decision and it violates human rights and citizens' rights to work in the professions that they choose. Forcing people to do certain professions and labeling them as criminals is a violation of human rights and it is illegal. It is an attack against the Iraqi people.
Many intelligence officers from the former regime always complain that they cannot find jobs and that they cannot return to their jobs. The Interior Ministry's decision is an invitation for them to apply for jobs in their field and register their names.
وأن يسجلوا أسمائهم لعودتهم إلى الوظائف التي هي من ضمن اختصاصاتهم.
The Interior Ministry's decision was not exclusive to members of the former regime's intelligence agency. It also included all those who were covered by the General Amnesty for committing crimes during the former regime.
The Interior Ministry's decision was intended to document their names, addresses, and their workplaces throughout Iraq. We gave them from May 25th until July 25th of 2007. Those who failed to provide this information for any reason will be arrested by our agencies.
The Supreme National Agency for Rooting Out the Ba'ath said that the Interior Ministry's decision is in violation of Article 135 of the Iraqi Constitution and Resolution 130 that was reached by a ministerial committee. The agency said that the Interior Minister's decision is in violation of the Constitution and the democratic process in Iraq. Ali Imad, Alsumaria Television.
The Shiite leader Moqtada is back in the forefront of Iraqi politics with a message of defiance and unity.
Yes, he hasn't been seen in public for months, but a few hours ago he reappeared at a mosque in the town of Kufa. His message to the US was simple: get out now. He called on Iraqis to say no to Satan and no to occupiers.
He also called for Iraqis to come together and said the Mahdi army should stop fighting Iraqi forces. John Cookson reports.
The last time Moqtada al-Sadr appeared in public was 4 months ago. The American government claiming he has been in Iran, although he denies he's been anywhere. Now he's appeared at Kufa at Friday prayers to deliver a blistering broadside at Israel, Britain and the United States, calling them the evil trio. He says he wants occupying forces out of Iraq.
I renew my demand to the Iraqi government to ask the occupiers to leave Iraq or to put a timeline for their withdrawal. I ask the Iraqi government not to let the occupiers extend their time in Iraq. Even for one day, the government doesn't have the authority to do that.
Meanwhile, in Washington, a deal has ended months of wrangling over Iraq funding between a Republican president and the Democrats who control Congress. The Democrats saying the days of blank checks were over. But without a two-thirds majority in Congress, the Democrats had to agree a compromise deal with no timetable for a U.S. troop withdrawal from Iraq.
The chair has examined the journal.
Capitulation maybe, but the Democrats have reasserted congressional control over a war, which was unthinkable a few months ago.
Engaging in combat in the civil war in Iraq, as the President has us doing there, we have lost thousands of Americans. The number is hard to measure, but everyone agrees easily over 100,000 Iraqis. The cost to our reputation and our military readiness is incalculable, but it is huge.
The next critical time will be in September, when the funding runs out. But the Democrats even then will not want to be accused of depriving the U.S. military of cash.
We cannot and will not abandon the Iraqis to be butchered by these terrorists in their midst. And we cannot and will not abandon our mission.
And in a recent poll, although 64% of Americans agreed there should be a timetable for U.S. withdrawal next year, most still believe, even without a timetable, Democrats should still keep funding the war.
They are sending clear signals, forcing some changes in the president's approach, and setting the conditions for the potential collapse of Republican support for the president in the fall.
The focus also now shifts to the Maliki government in Baghdad. The new deal on funding sets benchmarks the Iraqi government must meet. But Baghdad's record for meeting deadlines like constitutional change is poor and is testing American patience.
Well, all of us would and still do hope that reconciliation will be achieved in the near term. Certainly those of us with very little patience, I among them, would like to see more happen on a quicker path.
The sudden appearance of al-Sadr comes at a critical time for Iraq. The Maliki regime is weak and divided, and the US is warning of a bloody summer ahead. John Cookson, Al Jazeera.
Major clashes erupt at a Palestinian refugee camp in Lebanon. Why is the U.S. arming the Lebanese military? And will civil war engulf the country? The answers to these questions and more on Link TV's Mosaic Intelligence Report.
Clashes broke out this week between the Lebanese army and Fatah al-Islam rebel group in Nahr al-Barid, Palestinian refugee camp north of Tripoli. Nahr al-Barid, which means cold river, is anything but cold, as more than 80 people have been killed in 4 days of heavy fighting, described as the country's worst internal violence since the civil war.
We plead to the world, we plead to Mr. Hassan and Sanura, we plead to the international community. We are being killed in the camp. Our children are being killed in the camp. For God's sake, help us. We don't have water or electricity in the camp.
There are different theories about the reasons behind the latest clashes. Fighters based inside the Nahr al-Barid camp have been under scrutiny by Lebanese authorities, who accused them of being responsible for 2 bombings in a Christian area of Beirut in February and the most recent bombings in Beirut on Sunday and Monday. But the group's spokesman denied any involvement.
We know that the army was lured into the fighting by a third party inside the Lebanese government. This group wants to promote a US-sponsored program in Lebanon. The Lebanese army said that its duty is to protect Lebanon's sovereignty, borders, and citizens. However, we know that some groups inside the Lebanese army do not want anything but to help promote the US program.
Some Lebanese officials claim that Fatah al-Islam has been used by the Syrian intelligence as a tool to derail UN moves to establish the Hariri Tribunal. Supporters of the opposition, however, claim that the recent clashes are a ploy by the Western-backed Lebanese government to further implicate Syria and to disarm Hezbollah. What's interesting about what is going on in Nahr al-Barid is the fact that most of the rebel fighters infiltrated to Lebanon through Syria, but are armed mostly with American-made weapons. Meanwhile, US Air Force planes have just delivered military equipment to the Lebanese army under the pretext that the Lebanese government had requested military aid from Washington for fighting Fatah al-Islam group. At best estimates though, Fatah al-Islam does not have more than 300 fighters. Are the weapons really heading to Nahr al-Barid, or are they meant for future confrontations with Hezbollah? Whatever the reasons behind the recent clashes, Lebanon certainly does not need another wave of violence. The fighting showed how fragile security remains in Lebanon, which has been wrecked by the last year's war with Israel, in which more than 1,200 Lebanese, the majority of which were civilians, died. Beirut has also been hit by a series of unsolved assassinations following Hariri's murder. Most members of Fatah al-Islam group are foreign fighters, with some of them coming into Lebanon from as far as Yemen. Yet could Palestinian refugees living in Lebanon be used again as the spark that starts another civil war? No one has this answer, but one thing for sure, it's going to be another hot summer in Lebanon. I'm Jamal Dajani for the Mosaic Intelligence Report. To learn more about this program or to share your thoughts, visit us at linktv.org/mosaic.
The views expressed on Mosaic are those of the participating broadcasters, not Link TV or its sponsors. Mosaic is made possible by a grant from the William and Flora Hewlett Foundation. Additional support is provided by the Firedoll Foundation, the Otto Haas Charitable Trust, and by committed Link TV viewers like you. If you value this program, please send your tax-deductible contribution to Link TV, either through the website or the mailing address listed on your screen. This program was brought to you by Link TV, for educational and non-commercial use only.